In this video, we're going to look at how you can use Detect3D with 2D CAD files. Of course, the strength of Detect3D is that it interfaces excellently with large 3D CAD files, but there are cases where you may only have a 2D CAD file. This could be in the feed stage of a project, or for a brownfields project that never had 3D CAD in the first place. In these cases, you can still use Detect3D. Although I don't show it in the video, you can even use Detect3D without any CAD at all, and instead use scanned images, but here we're going to focus mainly on using it with 2D CAD. You can find the option to import 2D CAD from the File menu, or by right-clicking on Geometry. Detect3D currently supports AutoCAD DWG files for 2D CAD import. I can select the AutoCAD file as normal and go through the geometry import process, and here's the CAD in Detect3D. I'm just going to change the background to black so you can see it more clearly. The basic idea is to build up a 3D CAD model from the 2D CAD file. This is needed as the lines in the 2D CAD file don't present any obstructions to the detectors. We can create these surfaces by right-clicking on the geometry and selecting Edit, which opens up the CAD creation capabilities in Detect3D. You can see many additional options that come as standard in CAD packages, such as creating lines, surfaces, and layers. I'm first going to add a polyline, and I'm going to quickly create a new layer called Lines, and add the polyline to that layer. You can see the line I'm creating in red, which traces around the outer walls of this building. Once I've finished creating this line, I can then add the polyline to the geometry project, and the idea is then to use that line as the basis for the floor and walls of the building. For the floor, I'm going to use a triangulated surface which fills in the polyline. I'm going to quickly create a new layer called Walls, and after some color adjustments, just add that triangulated surface to the geometry project. To create the outer walls, I can use an extruded surface, and by using the Line Pick tool, I can just click on the lines I created with the polyline, and you could see the extrusion preview there. Just some adjustments to the height of the extrusion, and then I can add that to the geometry project as well. Turning the layers of the original CAD back on, you can see that I've already made some pretty good progress, and the next thing I'm going to do is to add the pipework. As this is such a common task, we've created a special piping surface where you can simply add the diameter, and I can see that's 150 millimeters here. Select the height of the pipe above ground level, which I can see is 300 millimeters, and then simply click on the center line of the pipe to create the surfaces. You can see the created pipe surfaces in the red preview, and you can see it handles the rounded corners quite nicely. Once I've created all the pipework that I want, I can select Add Piping, and that will add all the pipework to the geometry project. As well as clicking on the line I created before, I can actually click on any line in the 2D CAD file to create, for example, an extruded surface. You can see that in red here, and I can just adjust the height of the extrusion and then select some more lines to create multiple extrusions. I can also cap the extrusions, then once I've added those to the project, you can see all the extruded surfaces I've created from the 2D CAD lines. Another neat feature is the revolution, where I can select the center line and then select lines to rotate around that center line, drawing out a surface. I've already selected the translation vector to be 300 millimeters above ground level. So you can see I'm building out the detail here around the pipework, even the curved lines. And then I can just add that revolved surface to the project. I'm going to speed up the next part of the video by a factor of 5, just so you can get an overview generally of how the geometry creation works without having to watch 10 more minutes of video. You can see I'm adding boxes and cylinders. I'm adding some more piping here, 457 millimeters above the floor level. I'm adding an equipment layer and using a revolution surface to build up some equipment, creating a base with a box, and then just copying that surface using a vector, so we now have two. Next I'm just going to put a few more boxes in. In total it took about 10 minutes to create the geometry that you're seeing here. If you had an hour with this, you could create something much more accurate and complex. Once all the objects are added, you can just click Confirm Geometry, and that adds the geometry to the fire and gas mapping project in Detect3D, which you can see here. Once you have the 3D surfaces, you can then just proceed as normal with the Detect3D fire and gas mapping project by adding detectors, zones, and viewing coverage. I'm just going to run through a very quick example, adding a flame detector and then adding a zone. You can see there I use the pick tool as normal to position the detector, just angling it now into the room and adding that. It's done all the ray casting based on the new 3D surfaces. Here I'm just adding a zone, giving it some height. I'm also going to put in a null zone just to cut out that corner that's not actually in the room. And there it is. The very last thing I'm going to do is to add a contour in the zone just above ground level, and there you can see the coverage. A neat thing to do once you have the contour is to switch to top view and then orthographic projection, and then give the contour some transparency so you can see the coverage in relation to the 2D lines of the AutoCAD file. This comes out really nicely on images that you can create then from Detect3D and put it into your reports. And of course you have all the capabilities of Detect3D available to you, including the coverage statistics in the zone based on the geometry that you created from the 2D CAD file. So in this video, we've seen how to perform 3D fire and gas mapping using 2D AutoCAD files. The capability to do so is very quick, efficient and powerful, and comes standard with every single version of Detect3D. You can download Detect3D from our website and have a go yourself, and if you have any questions or comments, please email me and I'll be happy to discuss with you. Thanks a lot for watching.